Post-United States election 2024 November. The United States was going in one direction. If we see post the post the disintegration of USSR that happened in 1989-1991 time frame, post that, then there was only one superpower in the world called America, and Russia became a normal country, and China to some extent it tried to do the polarization, but all along United States was considered as the most powerful country in the world. Okay, so this can be called as from 1991 till now, till 2004, election is happening in one way, that happened in United States. But November 2024, it became a historical result for the United States when it went back 8 years back. Means 8 years back, whatever the election result was, state by state, more or less 2016 election, same result has come. Similarly, Democrat had filed a women candidate, same as kind of Clinton, Mrs. Clinton. And here now we have Kamala Devi. So very similar, same part. And same candidate, Mr. Donald Trump, and Mr. Donald Trump is winning similar states. So it looks like that world has gone back 8 years back. But whatever the situation is, one can understand that something has broken. Something has broken. The way Russia was behaving in Ukraine and the way that it is happening in Israel and Palestine side and the way it is happening in Afghanistan side. So it looks like that something has really changed. The global politics is changing now. Okay. Now Mr. Putin in Russia, he is friend of Mr. Donald Trump, and it doesn't look like that war would proceed in Ukraine. This is as it looks like. But Russia is very powerful. This Russia proved again that Russia is the superpower. You cannot challenge Russia. If if little bit kind of tightening the USA, United States, the tightening it has maintained in the it has maintained in the Ukraine, if it decreases the tightening, if it lessens the tightening, Russia would conquer Ukraine in few hours. So that is the power of Russia. So now the way that Donald Trump has promised that United States is not going to support Ukraine as far as monetary is concerned, but we all believe that United States is actually it is not no more the United States the way it was 30 last 30 years 30 years. So tide in the sea, tide in the ocean, if you see the ocean, there is a tide that comes. Sometimes tide is very high. In no moon day, when moon is not there, in no moon night, the tide is high because moon is considered as the source of water. So in no moon night, the tide is high. So there was no moon night for the 30 years and tide was very high. Now tide is subsiding. The tide that United States companies, multinational companies as far as electronics and software business and technology are concerned, the way they brought the tide has subsided. Not subsiding, subsiding. Now Russia is a superpower now again came back to its own stage. In that scenario, there is a country called Cuba. Cuba. Cuba country's prominence, Cuba country's prominence is now it is being shown now. Now the prominence, the importance of Cuba country is now surfacing day by day. What is a Cuba? Cuba is a country that is south to the United States. It is a Caribbean country and falls in North America continent. North America, South America. In North America continent, Cuba falls. There is a Miami beach in Florida state of America. Okay, Miami. From Miami, the capital of Cuba, Havana. So Havana is merely 350 kilometers only. So Cuba is an island country, Caribbean country, that is very near to United States. And when Russia is now emerging as superpower and very high power China, North Korea, the missile country and nuclear country and India, when they are supporting Russia, means India has, when Indian people they are completely pro-Russian, government cannot do anything. So India has to support Russia always. China started supporting Russia openly. North Korea, Iran, anyway, Iran was supporting Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and then this side, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, all are supporting Russia. So Russia is a now intimidating, or it's a kind of a, it is a superpower coming back again. So importance of Cuba is growing. How big Cuba is? Cuba is an island country and it is around 110,000 square kilometer, 110 square kilometer. It is bigger to many states in India. Okay, I believe it would be similar to Florida or little bigger to the Florida. And then it has population of 1 crore people, that is around 10 million people. Around 100 people, 96 people per square kilometer is the density of Cuba. Cuba used to be colony of Spanish people. I believe Columbus and these people who were kind of they were they were doing some exploration, so they landed in the Cuba. So Spanish colony Cuba was, and 1868 Cuba became independent, came out of clutch of the Spanish people, but still Spanish is the official language of the Cuba. Okay, and but after 1868, it was in influence of the United States. In 1902, then it became independent from United States. But the kind of the claw, the Falcon's claw, it was on Cuba. So there was a Cuba Revolution, and in 1959, Cuba became completely, Cuba Revolution ended, and Cuba became a kind of a communist country. And I believe there is I forget the name, I will read it out. And he became the powerful leader in the Cuba. Okay, so the Cuba, which became a kind of a communist country, so 1959 onward, Cuba became friend of USSR. That is the most critical point of the Cuba. Now the Russia, USSR started supporting Cuba from the economic front. Cuba is a very poor country. So USSR started supporting Cuba from the financial perspective. Now USSR companies they used to visit Cuba and they were searching for oil field, nickel field. So these companies or these mining company they established there. In return, USSR used to give food grains to the Cuba. So Cuba and USSR, their association as far as communist countries are concerned, it became very tight. And in 1972, Cuba became part of the communist, you can say, the kind of communist nations. There is one collaboration that USSR made. Cuba became part of it. Is the USSR, Russia had only this much friendship with the Cuba that Russia all of a sudden started supporting Cuba. Russia started placing missiles and arms in Cuba. I mean USSR. So USSR was very powerful at that time. So to defeat United States, USSR made Cuba as a placeholder for arms. So USSR at the time of Kennedy was very famous president of United States. Unfortunately, assassination happened. John F. Kennedy. So during John F. Kennedy time, during 60s only, USSR had started placing its army or its arms the missile and the rockets and those things in the Cuba. So any moment USSR could destroy United States any minute in any minutes any hour only at that time only. So USSR Russia America has no other way but to defeat USSR by disintegrating it. Ukraine came with support of America. Then Georgia, I believe Georgia, Armenia or something. These are the country came. Belarus. Anyway, Belarus always supports Russia. Full Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, this country came. Crimea. Okay, there are many other countries. So many countries came out of the USSR. And USSR disintegrated and it became weak. And America became a superpower, lonely superpower. Now, the importance of Cuba is growing. And now, the when Crimea is part of Russia, part of Ukraine is part of Russia now. So Russia is becoming powerful and role of Cuba is growing day by day. So we will see the Cuba and what has happened, the kind of development in Cuba. Okay, so Cuba is Caribbean country and it has high importance as far as the tension between Russia and America is concerned. Now Russia is very powerful, very powerful. In that sense, Cuba is around 110 square kilometer, 1.1 crore or 11 million is the population. And it got independence in 1868 from Spain, 1902 from the USA. 2016 survey, it says that 67% of Cuba population, they still support Russia. So Cuba is always pro-Russia country. Okay, 1959 Cuba Revolution, post-Cuba Revolution, it became a communist country. And the person who led the Cuba as far as its communist country is concerned, okay, somewhere I had placed his name, Fidel Castro. I'm sorry, this is very famous name, Fidel Castro. So Fidel Castro was the leader who came out of this revolution and he became kind of the most powerful person in Cuba, Fidel Castro. So this became a communist country. So COMECON, this is the communist kind of a collaboration. So one kind of a country together that USSR made and that was in 1972 and Cuba became part of it. Okay, post USSR era, then in 2000, Mr. Putin, he became the head of the state of the Russia. He visited Cuba in 2000 itself. Cuba is always a kind of a key for Russia as far as America is concerned. And then in 2000 and 2008, there was a hurricane and that devastated the Cuba and Russia supported Cuba. Russia helped Cuba with the food grain and Russian company they go and they open the ore extracting ore means mining companies in Cuba. 2014 Cuba recognized Crimea. So Russia it acquired Crimea in 2014 and Cuba it recognized it. So it is all right. And in 2014 Putin again visited Cuba. Okay, so USA, as always, it made many economic sanctions on Cuba, and Russia always held Cuba. Now, these sanctions is not going to work now. These sanctions, what United States was threatening to the world, I will make this sanction and that sanction. This is not going to work now. If United States does not improve the way it was behaving for past 30 years or past 70 years, this sanction and that sanction, this country will become a abandoned country. United States is anyway abandoned country. One side is Pacific and one side is Atlantic. If this country do not improve the way it is behaving, has been behaving, then it will become a abandoned country. Its situation will become like 400 years back where when only red Indians used to live. It must understand this very nicely. Anyway, now USA made economic sanctions on Cuba. Still sanctions are there, but Soviet Union always helped it. Havana is the capital of Cuba and it is 365 kilometers from the Miami beach of the Florida states of the America. So that is the scenario. The relationship between Russia and Cuba is so harmonious that Russia has full-fledged embassy in Havana. Not only that, it has consulate in Santiago de Cuba. Santiago de Cuba. That is a city in Cuba. There it has placed consulate. Similarly, Cuba has embassy in Moscow and it has honorary consulate in St. Petersburg in Russia. So, Russia and Cuba are made for each other. Cuba is a poor country. Russia always helped Cuba. Cuba? Why Cuba help Russia? Okay, Russia is interested in Cuba because it is very near to the America and Russia wants to control the full globe. Everyone wants to control the full globe. So in that way, Cuba is important. Cuba wants Russia, otherwise it will come in grip of America. No one wants to come in grip of anyone. Everyone wants to live independent life. This is human nature. If it does not get aligned with USSR, or Russia, then it will come in clutch of America. That is the problem of the Cuba, and that's how it try to get aligned with the Russia. So this is Cuba and this is Russia made for each other, and the way Russia power is growing day by day, and the way the political change happened in this election in the United States, the way people elected someone who talks about economy, not security at all. Okay, in this fashion, America slowly it is becoming as a normal country, not as a very high-fledged single superpower that it used to. If you want to be superpower, then you have to be superpower everywhere around the globe. You cannot be confined to your own country only. But this is what they are trying because of the poverty that is in America now. So in that way, Cuba importance is growing day by day.